what's crazy about medicine is that you're so enveloped in this tiny little world. But in this tiny world, it's so consuming. It sucks the life out of you. You forget yourself outside of this. But it's a tiny speck of who you are. And you find yourself saying, flip, I don't remember myself outside of this. I'm not who I used to be. Today is day 4 of family medicine. I feel like a zombie. I'm so tired. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm so tired. And I can't. It's like being tired is baseline now. I'm currently at Hillbrow Community Healthcare Center. Very busy clinic here in Joburg. And literally what we do, we see about 20 patients from 9 till 12. So you can imagine, I leave the doctor because she finishes at 4. Can't stay until 4 because number one, the neighborhood is not safe. But we see everything. The next patient is hypertensive. The next one has psychosis. The next one has depression. I'm literally only making this video because I need to vent. It's day 1, family medicine. I'm attached to this preceptor. Apparently she wasn't called by the university. Now I have to take the blame for it. So I walk in, I'm like, hello doctor, so I'm attached to you. She's like, but the university didn't even call me. You know, I work, she's banging the table at this point. I work in the busiest clinic in Joburg. They send patients they don't want to see in other hospitals. Now they're sending students that the other hospitals don't want. And I can't have time to be teaching you every minute. This is so unfair. They don't even pay me. Your university doesn't even pay me. Your university didn't even help me get through medical school. I don't owe them one bit. And we don't even get points. So, I mean, some other doctors get HPCSA points for helping our students. But apparently, she won't be getting that point. And now I have to deal with. And I mean, these are the kinds of things that students deal with all the time. So I think God has given me the grace to be emotionally intelligent. So I walk in her office, so she's saying all of these things, she's yelling, she's tapping, she's bumping her fist on the table. I'm looking at her and I'm like, okay, let me empathize with her. I look at her and I'm like, no, I understand. Honestly, it's not fair for you guys. And then I ask her a question. I was like, so how can I make it better for you? I don't want to be a burden. Because already you said you're overworked. How can I make the consultation even better? How can I help you out? Guys, there's a reward to being graceful. There's an art, and I'll say a wisdom to dealing with difficult people, difficult doctors. And it's something we have to deal with every single day. Because, I mean, this doctor is shouting at me, and I'm trying to be humble and not get annoyed. I should have been, because don't take it out on me. So she hasn't even introduced herself. I told her my name is Anissa, and she literally left the room. She left the room. I told her, hello doctor, my name is Annalisa, and she left the room. And then she came back and she gave me a tantrum, and then she was shouting. But you know, again, guys, the grace of dealing with difficult people, it takes wisdom. Because now, obviously, that was day 1. Today is day 4. And right now, we love each other. She's obsessed with me. So the second step to my strategy, so the first one was to be humble, tell her I'm here, you know, verbal assurance. She didn't need one, but, you know, it's wisdom. So second step was to make myself as useful as possible. So I was doing all the casualty runs, right? Patient needs an oxygen mask at casualty because we're at the OPD, right? I'm there. Patient needs an ECG done, I'm there. Patient needs an x-ray reviewed, I go to the x-ray department. I look into the system because, I mean, only have a computer in one room. You have to walk across the room to review someone's x-ray. Crazy. But all of the mundane stuff, I'm signing her prescription forms, I'm signing the blood forms, physiotherapist referral letters. I'm doing all the mundane stuff. I'm doing physical examinations for every patient, you know? So basically, I was trying to be as helpful I was trying to be an asset, trying to be part of the team. At midway, she's like, have you done a degree before? And I'm like, yeah. What, do I look old? She's like, no, I'm just seeing your maturity. You're very, very mature. The students I've had in the previous rotations would just sit down. You're so proactive. You are eager. You're so passionate. Like you want to learn. And you're really taking initiative, you know? And I did really feel that you are quite mature. And I was like, there it is. So, I mean, we have worked well together on that day. In fact, day one. First few consultations. And she asked me questions and I kind of knew my work because we did internal medicine. So one of the things that I saw day one, first, OPD, patients should come there stable. We shouldn't have a patient in respiratory distress because we have the casualty side, which is like the equivalent of the emergency room or the emergency department. So, I mean, we see a few consultations, fine, hypertension, diabetes. And now this patient comes in. He's literally breathing. I'm checking the pulse and everything. I decided, flip, while the doctor is looking at this guy, let me take the pulse. And now this patient, proactive student here. So I was checking the pulse and everything. I decided, flip, while the doctor is looking at this guy, let me take the pundit visibly in respiratory distress. And the patient should have never come to the OPD. So those are the kinds of things that I saw. Obviously, because I'm a nice student, so I was in charge of taking the patient to casualty, getting them into getting an oxygen mask for them, make sure they're stable. But obviously I had to go back because I had to learn how to consult with the doctor. So that was the first crazy thing I saw. We saw a lot of patients, but this one heartbreaking, I was literally choking back tears. This guy has been in South Africa, but he doesn't have an ID, doesn't have money, doesn't have food. He's hypertensive, uncontrolled because he doesn't have food. He has now developed complications for his hypertension, so he has varicose veins, and he can't afford stalking, so it's literally building up. Number one, his wife abandoned him, his children abandoned him. And I'm like, oh my, we live in our own bubble, and we are so preoccupied with our own frustration that when I heard this guy say these words, he said, nah, it's fine. I've accepted it. That's life. And he only had a pardon letter from the minister. It was so, oh my goodness, it was so hard, but it still is. Well, he doesn't have a phone, so the doctor couldn't contact him for continuity of care. It was so hard. The doctor was like, okay, I'll show you to the social worker. I can't speak. Like, I was like, nah, I've been to many social workers. Really doesn't help, but it's fine, I'll go. He went, came back to our office, and I was like, yeah, they didn't carry. He's like, all I want is just food so I can take my medication. And he's like, abandon him because I've been stuck here in South Africa. Don't have money to go home. And obviously the wife bad-mouthed him, the daughters, and the wife died. So the daughter is angry, so angry at him. And I'm like, this guy is literally alone in this world. I'm in stress. Carrying so much burden is itself gonna cause you to have a high blood pressure. And you don't have food, so he's not taking his medication correctly, and so he's developing varicose veins complications, and he doesn't have money to pay. It's like a vicious cycle of one thing leading to the other. I mean, at some point I was like, this guy's disease is bigger than just hypertension, I mean, we learned in family medicine the difference between disease and illness. Illness is the patient's subjective view of the disease, the symptoms, how they feel about it, how it's affecting their life, and the disease itself is what's medically wrong with them, which is hypertension. But day two, we have this young 25-year-old hypertensive, had a stroke last year around November, was not managed properly, guys, has not taking hypertensive medication. They stopped her physio in 3 months. They stopped rehabilitating her. She comes there, she still has residual symptoms of a stroke. The doctor left us for a moment, right? Not intentionally. At some point I'm looking at her, I'm like, this one is young, he's probably in university. How is this affecting her life? Because with patients, it's like what you see, the disease is just the tip of the iceberg. Yo guys, she starts crying. And she's almost my age. So I'm there saying, no, I relate. I did to some of the things. Heartbreaking. Okay, fast forward to day 3. The patient that stood out to me it was this guy who came here with severe pain, crushing chest pain, radiating to the left, worsening exertion. Those are classic symptoms of unstable angina, right? Comes in here, tells us, I've been here before 3 days ago, the same problem. They gave me pain meds, let me go. Guys, if a patient comes, they have all the symptoms, it's a no-brainer. Night, you do an ECG. An ECG was not done on the patient. So I had to go run to casualty, do an ECG for him. Come back, we do see. There's actually ST depressions. Now, here's the crazy. Now you need troponins. Troponins are like markers. It's like whatever happens in our body screams some sort of chemicals out. So troponins are like markers. So when the heart is damaged, that's what's released, right? But guess what? Because the ECG has peak T waves, now we need to measure the potassium. I mean, that's basic care, guys. Basic care. Do you think the casualty, a whole casualty of the whole clinic, it didn't have an ABG? I couldn't check potassium, I couldn't check troponins on my patient. Had to drip him and we had to send him to a hospital. So number one, not only was my patient mismanaged the first time he came to consult with us, but number two, when we finally are able to pick out what's wrong with him, we can't even investigate because there's no resources. Okay. Did you know what just happened there? This is how my doctor is so stern. When she talks, she emphasizes. So I think I've just picked that up from her. Don't know if it's a good thing. It is a good thing. Maybe I'm learning from her. No, she does teach a lot. I've learned a lot over the past 3 days. 4 days. It's been 4 days, damn. But yeah, man. But anyway, I was glad that we did do that for him and potentially saved his life, even though obviously we couldn't continue the care because of the lack of resources. But in that moment I felt so helpless, I felt helpless. And anyway, I'm not trying to badmouth the facility that I was in or trying to badmouth the healthcare system in South Africa, but those are just the realities, and we're only seeing a sneak peek because this is our first year in the clinical space, because adverts, we're only exposed to the clinical space in 5th year, which is crazy to me, if you ask. Like, you see those things and you're because I asked the doctor at casualty, I was like, how are you guys functioning? This is a whole casualty. People come here bleeding. You need to check the HB and every basic electrolyte. You mean there's one ABG machine for the entire clinic? So if it doesn't work, that's it. That's why patients die. But yeah, those are just the horrific stories of, working here. In any case, am I enjoying medicine? Outside of everything, I am. Am I enjoying medicine? Oh, that's a good question. There are days where it's fulfilling. Like with my preceptor's patients who had come there for follow-up. Of course, I was not there, but she would tell me the background of the patient and tell me, oh, this patient is very sick. And now they come here smiling. They're like, doctor, thank you. Guys, the look, the gratitude that they show. I remember I was fighting you. Because my doctor's really stern, hey? She fights you. She's because she wants you to partner with her in her helping you. Those are the fulfilling parts. But am I enjoying studying medicine? Not so much. I'm gonna be honest. The only parts I enjoy are parts outside of me being a student. It's like when you're shadowing a doctor, because that's literally what we're doing now. When you're shadowing a doctor, you get to witness the consultations. It's a sneak peek to you working, how it will be dealing with patients. Of course, it's not always easy dealing with patients because some of them are aggressive. There's long queues. Some of them are irritated by the time they get there. So, guys, it felt as if I was the one who helped them. It warms my heart when a patient's I thought I was gonna die. And they're I was in so much pain. They literally, I don't know. I'm very emotional. So I was asking my doctors, how do you handle all of this? Because, I would just be so happy. So why am I not enjoying studying medicine? Because right now is Monday. Today's Monday. I have to do a presentation. So presentation on a patient that I saw, and it's they're very specific with what they want. It's currently 7 p.m. I got back around 1. Couldn't take a nap because I'm so tired, and now I have to sit here and try to do that. I also have to fill in a logbook, which is 1 billion pages. I'm not joking with you, it's 1 billion pages. And I know whenever I tell people I don't like sharing my frustrations with school and stuff because it feels like I'm complaining, but that's all there ever is to say about studying medicine. It feels like you're complaining, but you're actually literally talking facts. I have that presentation on Thursday. I have an ask in. Ask is like you have to learn all of the work. They ask you questions. And I'm doing all of this. I'm 9 months deep into it. And each day I just keep waking up. It feels like there's an urban flow to things, you know? It's like a way of coming in and going, coming in and going. And then it's the next day. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. And there's literally a few exciting moments. Most of my exciting moments have come outside of this space, and most of the deep moments have been when I'm meditating about why I'm doing this. And most of the times where I was grateful that I'm doing medicine was me looking back and seeing how far I've come, where I'm intending to go, and how God has put me in this place for a purpose. But studying medicine, I'm tired. There's no sugar coating. I'm gonna get diabetes. No sugar coating. I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy studying medicine. I don't. And maybe I look at these videos and think, oh, I was probably burnt out. Maybe I am. There's this significant moment that happened with me because I was in denial. It was during COVID. All alone, isolated, online classes, we just had to look at work, didn't understand what I was doing, I hated everything, depressed, everybody was. But there's this moment where it was midnight, I had to go outside of my room because I was breathing so hard. And I know the symptoms of a panic attack. I was having one and I didn't know it. And all of these videos are short in black and white because it's symbolic, you know, because I know once I get into it, I'm gonna start crying. I don't want to see my tears in color, and I want to capture this as if it's a memory, black and white. And I mean, obviously this picture, it's black and white, but it's gray because there's so many gray areas in my life right now. And what's crazy about medicine is that you're so enveloped in this tiny little world, but this tiny world is so consuming. It sucks the life out of you. You forget yourself outside of this, but it's a tiny speck of who you are. And before you know it, you're also reduced to this little thing, this little medical student, and that's it. It becomes your identity. Even your friends call you doctor. It's fine. It's not a problem. But if family is proud that you're doing this thing, and it's so confusing because deep down you love it. You know this is what you want to do. But you forget all the other facets of your life. And you find yourself saying, Flip, I don't remember myself outside of this. I'm not who I used to be. I miss certain aspects about myself because this thing has stolen it from me. And what's crazy, you can't even take a moment's breath to cry it out. You don't. I'm just thinking right now as I'm speaking to you that this time that I'm wasting, and it's not even wasting time if you think about it logically and as a human, but I've been programmed to think that right now, as I'm crying it out, as I'm trying to feel emotionally better, as I'm venting, I mean, this is equivalent to me talking to a friend. I'm like, I should have been doing my presentation right now. The thing that's hurting me, I'm thinking about it. Maybe I need a therapist. It's like you finish a rotation, you have a weekend, but you still have to study in that weekend for the next one. We call them 2-week rotations. And I'm sitting here like, I'm so tired. And to be honest with you, I'm not ready for what's happening on Friday. I haven't studied at all. The whole weekend, I was a bit depressed. And it's not everyone's story. Medicine is beautiful. It has its moments, but something beastly about it. It's something beastly about it, and it demands you to be in beast mode every single moment. And that's just not normal. And I guess I don't know why I'm putting this out. Maybe it's for someone who the reality is getting asked, how does it feel like to do medicine, Lisa? That's what it feels like. It's not all the time, but that's what eats at me most of the time. I don't know, sit here and say I only remember the bad parts, but the bad parts are really bad. The toxic parts are really toxic, and then there's the fulfilling moments, and those are just few in between. I thought I was, because when we went to boarding school, we were 13, my sister and I didn't cry. Her mother took us, but she cried. I've always been that one, the strong one, the independent one, you know. Oh no, Lisa's alright, she's fine. And I have been most of my life, but lately I haven't been fine. I haven't been fine. I was never one to be depressed and cry and have panic attacks. Here I am, crying. It's quite ironic, isn't it? I'm using this filter to try and hide the tears from my eyes. Tears that you can visibly see. But it's comforting to me because they're just in black and white. But there's a certain comfort that you don't see them in real time, or in real color, rather. And I guess that's just how we come across when someone we smile and wave. Just smile and wave, boys. Just smile and wave. And we know it's visible. You can see that we're just not okay. But there's a certain comfort in that. Yes, we're smiling and waving, so maybe you can't see, but we know you can. And sometimes we do that to ourselves. And you try to distract yourself, you know. So many projects, because you don't want to think about it. But underneath it all, I love medicine. Just not what they've done to it. Yeah, I guess that's the end of it all. That's all I have to say. Right. Tomorrow's another day. Probably update you. Diary. Right. Peace.